Hello friends, we are continuing now with part 4 of our synthesis for petal number 8, a most important petal involving the second initiation and also the temptations in the desert, a petal which takes long to unfold. We reached point number 60 here. The main sign is Scorpio if we begin numbering from the first petal with Aries. It's pretty clear that the Egoic Lotus is a kind of miniature human zodiac, just the way the heart and the head center is, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's something about the monad which is 12-fold as well, because it is a higher type of heart found on the second subplane, which correlates, of course, with the second aspect, the second subplane of the cosmic physical plane. Since Scorpio is the major sign here, let Maya flourish and deception rule. Well, during the unfolding or the work within this petal, a lot of work is done on clearing away the glamour. Maya does not necessarily mean the Maya of the dense physical plane, the technical way it is understood. The Maya of the etheric physical plane, it means all glamour and illusion in general. And so, during the work on this petal, we must learn to see clearly. The point 61, the keynotes: from the angle of the soul, warrior I am, and from the battle I emerge triumphant. Well, there's no question that the second degree is a great dividing line, and we are triumphant over Mars, interestingly enough. We would say that Mars contributes to the victory, but the real victory is won through the sources of light, which in the case of the second initiation is Venus, and we must also mention Mercury as well. So it's through the higher light that we emerge triumphant from this battle. And indeed, once this petal is open, or mostly open, we have passed a major hurdle. There is another hurdle before us in which we confront for the final time at our stage of evolution the world, the flesh, and the devil, the triple dweller on the threshold, representing the etheric physical, the world, the flesh, the emotional vehicle, and the devil, the mental vehicle with its pride, separativeness, and cruelty. We may not have won the complete battle over illusion, but sufficiently at this midway point between the second and third initiation to say that we are truly on our way in the Syrian stream of initiation. So once we have entered the stream at the second degree, and once we have really overcome our temptations in the wilderness, in the desert, we are surely free to make very rapid progress in the unfoldment of the final of the 9 petals, the petal connected with Sagittarius and with Aries, and which gives us the triumph over illusion, at least at our stage. I mean, DK has told us really that we're not triumphant over illusion until the 9th initiation, which I suppose means that the entire cosmic physical plane is, in a sense, a plane of illusion when considered from the higher perspective. And then, of course, there's still a greater emergence as the synthesis petals begin to really unfold in earnest. They have been somewhat open to the first, second, and third initiation, but the real full unfolding and their bursting open occurs before the fourth, after the third and before the fourth. Well, now we go into the idea of yoga. The 5 organs of action, the voice, the hands, the voice through which thought is expressed and thought forms are rendered tangible, more tangible than they are as thought, obviously. They're given some kind of embodiment on the physical plane. The hands, the feet, the excretory organs, and the organs of generation. The excretory organs and organs of generation are very key to this petal. We learn how to control the sex impulse, which contributes greatly to illumination. And it's not just the physical excretory organs. We learn what to be rid of, and the law of repulse is connected with this ridding of ourselves of all that is not only unnecessary, but, let's say, poisonous to our system. By human hands and human feet, well, we serve with the hands and the feet, as was given in the Egoic painting, which shows us Christ in the desert, drawing with his so-called cane in the desert sand, the solution for the human race, which is basically service. And we learn how to blend the usually mentally related throat center with the heart, because there's an increasing amount of Venus here and of the Buddhic plane, and the filling of the astral body with an increased measure of love through Venus, and also through a conduit to the heart of the sun provided by Neptune. So the voice becomes the carrier of love. The 5 organs of receptivity, number 63, the ear, the skin, the eye, the tongue, and the nostrils. Well, I can only say that all of them become increasingly acute. We become more sensitive to the inner touch. We may begin to hear the 4 sounds from the Buddhic plane somewhat. The eye becomes acute, but it is the eye which increasingly sees the unity. Taste is connected with the 4th ray, and this is a strongly 4th ray petal contributing to discrimination. Let's call it discriminative taste, learning what is of value and what is not. And interesting about the nostrils, because they smell the way home to the inner source, not completely yet, but they are also involved in detecting the stench, which is interestingly connected with Scorpio. You know, the swamps of Lerna have a particular connection with the 2nd initiation and the fluid astral realm, and all that can accumulate of stench when the waters are not moving, when they are brackish, when they are in some way the host to all kinds of nefarious entities, the harmful bacteria, the viruses, whether of the ordinary physical kind or internal kind. So we learn through smell what is divisive and hostile to harmony and hostile to fragrance. Interestingly enough, at this petal we have, when it unfolds, the lotuses of perfume. So the sense of smell is very important here, whether to discriminate between that which is truly horrible to take into your system via the nostrils, and that which is beautiful, uplifting, and the fragrance of the soul, and of the inner perfumes, as Master Decay discusses it. The alchemical journey, I'll have to defer to some of my colleagues here. This could be researched. I really don't know enough to say too much, but I'm sure there comes a point at which the ore, which is in process of being melted and changed into a higher form of metal, eliminates impurities. And I believe that this petal is very much involved in the drastic confrontation with and elimination of impurities. But of course, this is a whole extensive study in itself. It was included by my colleague in this list of possible associations, and I'll just leave this for others or for a more extensive study at some other time. We've been including something of the tarot cards, and the Scorpio card is particularly the card of death. And here we are. I suppose it is this card, and it is the sort of, let's see, X1V, so it's got to be X111, the 13th card, interestingly enough, the card associated with Scorpio and with death. Well, what is it that dies here? The addiction to personal desire dies. So in a way, our lower desire nature is dying out. As we say, the moon falls in Scorpio. So it is, I think, we do run into many death and detachment experiences at this point. We can possibly connect other cards. You know, this has a Leo component to it, the 8th petal, because we can either go starting with 7, Sagittarius, Leo, Aries, or Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, but it requires great strength and fortitude in this particular petal and long endurance. And we may feel like the hangman, that we are really beginning the sacrificial life in deadly earnest. The devil card, well, it's a Capricorn card, and it has to do with being chained to materiality, but in this case we are breaking our chains through initiation. You can see through the tarot, in a way, how one-sided the depiction is, because the higher aspects of Capricorn are not really here displayed. But, you know, the Capricorn is involved with all the first 5 initiations, including, obviously, the second initiation. So we can think that some of the devil is being overcome here. In Petal 9, the devil pride is being overcome as the mental heads of the Hydra are seriously confronted. Of course, Scorpio is also involved in that confrontation because it's involved in the first 3 initiations. The moon card, the moon is falling away, and the sun is rising. The sun of initiation is rising. So a number of the cards, there are 56 in all, I think, and they're not here listed. Maybe just some of them are listed for some reason. Not all, but all the trump cards are listed. I guess whenever Uranus is involved, the magician comes into practice, and the approach to white magic, or black, I suppose, is part of the process of petal number 8. There are probably ways that we could connect the many trump cards, tarot trumps, just as we can connect the different signs of the zodiac. The Hermit could come in here because, in a reverse manner, reversing the wheel and beginning with Pisces, beginning with Aries it is, but reversing and going in a clockwise direction. Virgo shows up here, and we are walking in the dark cave, and it's become even darker than it was under the influence of Virgo. I think some sort of mini dark night of the soul is possible in this petal as an anticipation of the real dark night of the soul at petal number, initiation number 4. And there are other areas of darkness which have to be faced as we study the rules for disciples and initiates, the advanced rules and the rays and initiations in chapter 10. Other areas of darkness have to be penetrated. But for us, it's enough to think of penetrating the darkness of our psyche and a kind of a barrier before we can enter the causal body, and a kind of a barrier before we can enter the Buddhic plane at the destruction of the causal body. There are others and higher ones, areas of darkness which have to be penetrated. Well, you see, the tarot here is kind of, in a way, an antique system. It's got a lot of profound knowledge, but unless we learn some of the higher meanings of these cards, regardless of how they are depicted, we shall not have a fuller story. Okay. Now, the mental chakras, well, they certainly are unfolding here under the influence of Mercury. The concrete mind is becoming very powerful in Scorpio in two ways, as I have discussed. One, to control the emotional vehicle, and the other to be a vehicle for the illumination of the soul. And also, really, the petals of the egoic lotus at first take the place of the higher mental chakras. What would normally be the head center or even the ajna center is operative through the sacrifice petals. What would be the heart chakra is operative through the love petals, and what would be the throat chakra through the knowledge petals. And only the lower 4 chakras are listed on the plane. You can see it here. There they are. Base of the spine and the gonads, the sacral center and the solar plexus. And the spleen is listed. The ajna center is sometimes left out of the equation, but I do think it belongs ultimately on the highest, connected with the highest tier of petals or sacrifice petals. It's there that the personality is really integrated, and the first great function of the ajna center is not only to direct the selfish personality, but to see to the integration of the soul energy system with the personality energy system. Excuse me. So, we go on to the idea of the Eightfold Path. Now it becomes really important, because we are the real disciple, and we have entered the stream when this petal is mostly unfolded. And so our perspective and our will is coming in under right intention, is the right use of will. And Vulcan, as we know, related to Taurus and a conveyor of illumination, is very important in this petal, and it is the means by which will confronts desire. We have to speak in a magical and appropriate manner, as the initiate should. Right action that goes without saying. Right livelihood, sometimes by the time we reach this petal, we are able to make that transition so that the work of the personality truly becomes the work of the soul. In the lives of so many people, there is a divide, and it's just the way things are now. You have to serve Caesar with one mode of making a living and serve Christ in your spare time, but that's not a totally integrated condition. And of course, one can bring the service of the Christ into the service of Caesar, so to speak. One can bring all of the soul impulses into one's normal service in relation to the dense physical plane and its values and desires. But sometimes the transition can be made so that one is truly carrying out in a more fulfilling manner the impulses of the soul. In any way, in terms of our livelihood, we do not do that which specifically would be against the soul culture. I mean, if we were, let's say at this point, except under great duress, a bartender making, or a drug dealer, making it possible for people to get hold of substances which dimmed their consciousness, that would not be right livelihood. If we were stealing from people, and there's many different ways to do that, it's not right livelihood. Right effort, of course, it continues. Right mindfulness is very important in this petal, because sometimes it's called right memory, and interestingly enough, under Scorpio, the factor of memory is sometimes activated so that it can go back over a number of lives, and through one's dreams or reflections, glimpses of past lives can be brought to the surface, and one sees more clearly what one has done and the kind of activities in which one has been involved in former times. That's memory, but mindfulness is, in a way, right observation, right state of alertness. Mercury is so much, in a way, the planet of alertness, and it is very powerful here as the hierarchical ruler of Scorpio. So we do really learn to detach and to see ourselves free of the glamorous impulses. Right concentration, well, already that has been in effect. Leo rules concentration. This is, interestingly, a Leo petal from the fire sign perspective, and we are deepening all the time our ability to centralize our consciousness. The different kinds of translations of these of the Eightfold Path here might give us slightly different perspectives. We're certainly reaching the point where the Four Noble Truths are taking hold, and we really understand how desire has chained us to the world. There's the devil card, in a way, the lower Capricorn, and how through detachment and the breaking of desire for life in the lower three worlds, we can become unbound. So certainly for the second degree initiate, the right means of detachment are practiced, and it is possible then to understand the truth that is only revealed when we have overcome the lower desire. Mars does represent the lower desire, and Vulcan is already fighting a battle with Mars. A Vulcan very close to the sun and actually a great bringer of light, and we're told, interestingly, that Vulcan burnishes the shield of Mars. Mars is the personality, and the light of the personality truly can begin to shine under the Vulcanian influence. Let's see further here. The 8 means of yoga, the yama or the commandments, and the niyama or the restraints. So looking at the 8 means, well, gosh, Scorpio can be a sign of extreme harmfulness, and we begin to realize the manner in which we have been harmful here, and we overcome that. It takes a lot of courage of a scorpionic kind, using the first ray to tell the truth to all beings, and we are practicing that. Scorpio is a sign of vampirism in its lowest expression, where we are stealing the life essence from others. That type of, the subtle types of theft we become aware of and will not indulge them as we are overcoming the Hydra heads. We also learn how to conserve the subtle energies, including the sexual energy, for the sake of illumination, and we begin to realize that we cannot envy and covet what others have. We must generate the fullness of our own treasury from within ourselves and from the energies that are released by high sources within ourselves. In that way, and by right effort and right action in the lower worlds, we can earn what is in our treasury. We cannot covet and have this avaricious attitude where we are also hoarding and not sharing. So this is the way the commandments can be connected with the processes in this petal. The restraints here are pursued in earnest, internal and external purification. Under Virgo, it's partially a Virgo petal, and under Scorpio, drastic purifications and purgations and eliminations are pursued. Maybe, it's hard to be content when divine discontent is always to be practiced, but we can contain this apparent contradiction by not fretting with our present circumstances, even while working to improve them and enlarge our environmental surroundings so that greater expression can occur. Fiery aspiration, of course, any applicant for initiation is filled with fiery aspiration, and Mars is still very strong in this petal. Mars, the planet of aspiration, and also Neptune, fiery loving aspiration with the energy of the heart of the sun. Spiritual reading, we're learning how, with Scorpio, to look behind things and within things. And certainly the inner angel or the inner God is becoming ever more luminous, and our devotion, remember devotion being that quality which releases one at the second initiation, dedication, glamour, devotion. That is the sequence. But the devotion is not to outer things, it's to the inner immortal God, and thus do we achieve our immortality through right identification with the inner God. The other aspects continue, of course, as we deepen our meditation. Uranus is strong here. Well, rectitude is strong, and that is posture. Pranayama has to do with the right use of the etheric body. As the higher ethers are impacting the lower ethers, the rhythmic factor is entering. Abstraction is very strong, pratyahara, in this particular petal, because there is a real pulling back from all that lower desire had attached us to. Dhyana, intensifying concentration leading to intensifying dharana or meditation, leading to illumination. The full samadhi is not ours yet. It is a realization of synthesis. It is atmic and atmic nirvanic consciousness, and even its monadic consciousness, it cannot be ours yet at this point, nor can the higher types of meditation of the higher initiates. But certainly we are beginning to live from the concentrated, attentive, soul reflective mind at this point. Mercury, or the mind, being so strong in relation to Scorpio. So these are, you know, a little bit cursory treatment, but it's how we can look at how the ongoing development of the commandments, yama and niyama, are proceeding. DK has thrown in the idea of the 8 Beatitudes. I suppose, you know, the 10 Commandments could be put in here as well. These great negations, DK looks at them as just maybe a little bit primitive, and for a people that had to learn restraint. I mean, how old these commandments are, we don't really know. They could well antedate the Hebrew period, in my view. So many relinquishments are occurring here in petal number 8, and although these Beatitudes are essentially enunciated from the atmic plane by the Christ, you know, immersed as he was in his understanding of the will of God at that time. His understanding grew, of course, in the Garden of Gethsemane, but it was already extremely powerful. You know, the poor in spirit are not attached to the world, because they are detached from the world, the kingdom of heaven or a higher vibration is theirs. You may mourn to detach yourself from all that you had desired, but the Buddhic plane and the triadal energies await to comfort you. You are really applying the disciplines, so you are meek, i.e. trained. Alice Beatty says the meek are trained. And they will inherit the earth because they will know the law and function according to the law, because they have disciplined themselves to function according to the law. Here is something to do with aspiration, hungering and thirsting after righteousness. Ask, knock, and seek, ASK. Seek and you shall find. So all aspiration will be rewarded, and we've turned our desire away from the things of the earth, and instead thirst after the energies of the higher planes and the knowledge and love and power of the higher planes. Buddhi makes us merciful. Blessed are the merciful, for they will be shown mercy. Sometimes not at first, because there is the karmic recoil that happens, and we do end up paying for all those times when we were not merciful, and oftentimes a highly merciful spirit may meet with a great rebuff, but later it will be so. I'm thinking, even the story of the inter-kingdom communication, Androcles and the lion, and he at one point found a lion suffering with a thorn in his paw and removed that thorn, and later, when Androcles, as a Christian, was thrown into the arena with the hungry lions, he came upon the lion for whom he had served, and the lion recognized him, refused to attack, and showed affection and love instead, and so they were both released. There are many examples of how the one who is not owing but has been merciful is shown mercy. The pure in heart, those are those who are not desiring the lower things. They have fire in their heart, and it has so purified their perception that they can see the unity which is God. The peacemakers, the spirit of peace, Buddhi, the second ray, all of these are connected. Blessed are the peacemakers, for they will be called sons of God, realizing that God wants the right and just peace of Shambhala to prevail. Of course, blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, or persecuted for my sake, as the Christ would say, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. There is always this compensation, and it's inevitable that when one pursues righteousness at a certain phase, the human kingdom will cast him out, and that will be a form of persecution. But they will be cast out into a higher kingdom altogether. So obviously, as we move petal by petal, we are in the position to live ever more fully in the realization of the truth of the Beatitudes. The commandments and rules, we've already looked at these, and here they are given in a more, in a fuller way, taken from the book. The three advanced themes for meditation, I wonder have we covered that, but anyway, isolated unity, inclusive reason, and presented attributes, I do believe we have, but I'll just, mention something. The isolated unity comes with the realization of will. Will becomes powerful here through Vulcan and also through the first ray, which I think is latent in Scorpio, the sign of Hercules. There's lots of Buddhic energy here, and Buddhi contains the ability to see the unity and increasingly identify with it, and also Buddhi contains pure reason, which is another form of inclusive reason, which is the advanced theme for meditation on the second ray line. When it comes to presented attributes, of course, this is very powerful. And now we are at the second degree, members of the new group of world servers, and we have to present something to the world in a tangible form which will be useful for the world. The new group of world servers is ruled by Taurus, the opposite sign to Scorpio. We're in the Scorpio petal, but it's also a Taurus petal from the point of view of illumination and the overcoming of desire. That particular polarity, I think, is found very strongly in this particular petal. So we will present the attributes which we have contacted as a soul and which we are meant to embody. When it comes to the 15 councils, well, from the time we were working in petal number 6, we were taking ourselves in hand, even though a bit selfishly, let us say. And if we, look at, it's a treatise in white magic, really, and it's, I believe, page 4. Okay, let's get that. 473. Some of these are preliminary, but we're practicing them all, and we're certainly house cleaning. Illusion is fading here under the understanding of Mercury. We understand what it means to let Maya flourish and deception rule, and we are beginning to conquer illusion through the intuition. The emotions are definitely being controlled, as in point number 3. The dual use of the mind as an instrument in the personality, but also an instrument of illumination, is certainly understood here and will be increasingly so. Increasingly we are the master of our mental world. Understanding the unity of the thought mechanism, I would say, is increasing as we move towards the realization of unity. We're no longer so selfish. If we prostituted our thought to the base use of separative desire, we would be selfish. We are building thought forms, as the members of the new group of world servers indeed do, serving the plan, point number 8. And we're getting better at building thought forms. Maybe we'll be even better in the work of petal number 9. Deep cleansing is involved here, and for petal number 10, it's, and 11, it's really all about deep cleaning, casting out, throwing away, using Pluto to cast away what is poisonous and unnecessary. We're learning to, thoughts are becoming much more powerful here. We know the word of death exists, Master Morya tells us. The thought of death certainly exists, and in Scorpio it can be a very virulent thing. Getting rid of selfishness, hate, the intent to hurt and bruise and kill. It can be so easily accomplished in Scorpio. All of these negativities, that's why under Scorpio we understand how to rid ourselves of these tendencies. So we're learning detachment from our lower self. And instead of thinking about ourselves and pitying ourselves and doing all those things that bring on glamour, self-pity is one, criticism is another, suspicion is another. I mean, you can think of how Scorpio could be involved in all of those. We are learning to rise above them. So these 15 councils are intensifying under Scorpio. The 15 intensifying under Scorpio. The rules for white magic. Well, Uranus is exalted in Scorpio, and Uranus is the planet of the white magician. And we are, coming closer to the time when the third eye, which has been opening from the time of the first initiation, maybe people don't really realize that, will be functionally open at the third degree. So there's a lot of the sense of control, magical control, operative here under Scorpio, and we certainly can discriminate between white and black magic. And in this petal, if things don't go well, we could veer off on the left-hand path of black magic. So the discrimination between white and black magic is very important in this petal, and the ability to work as a soul creator and not to be overcome by the astral nature, that is, to control it, and to control. Scorpio is simply a sign of great control, and one of the principal qualities belonging to the white magician, or to any magician for that matter, is control. I know some magical controls, some words of power, as the magician says. So this is important in the white magical process, though so many people are not into occultism per se, but they are into some sort of positive creativity which will, as a member of the new group of world servers, help the world. Now, that doesn't mean that when you just start working in petal number 8, you're necessarily a member of the new group of world servers. It takes a long time. Remember, we're talking about the stage between the first and second initiation, very long period. So it's only later, really, that we can become members of the new group of world servers. The angelology, it's a vast subject. There's 140, we're told, billion, I suppose, conscious Deva units, self-conscious Deva units in our solar system, and only 60 billion human units. They are self-conscious in our solar system. We live largely in a Devic, astrobuddhic solar system. So it would be an immense study. I'm grateful for my colleague for putting some of these categories in, but I'm not quite ready to take the plunge and go on a great additional study of these matters. There is an archangel, however, with all the fixed signs, we could say that Uriel is connected with Taurus, that Raphael is connected with Leo, And this is a partially Leo petal as well. Gabriel, who's connected with, interestingly, the announcer with Mercury, strongly connected with Scorpio. So Gabriel, and Scorpio in the 8th petal. The voice of the soul is going to be heard strongly. Christ is coming to birth and really growing up. And we are told to overcome fear. Fear not. Finally, there will be, well, you know, there's different ways to look at this. Raphael can be connected with Aquarius as well. Michael is usually connected with Libra and Saturn, but from another perspective, it can be connected with Leo, carrying out the will of God in blazing power with great obedience, and maybe the healer, Raphael, can be connected with Aquarius. There are just so many different correspondences. When it comes to the Sephiroth, let's see if I've cut anything out here. I may have, but maybe not really. Well, we're rising in the Sephiroth, and we certainly have strength, Gebura, Mars, in this petal. And the sun, the rising sun of initiation, continues to rise. Netzach, victory, it's kind of interesting. It would be the victory, at least as I understand it, maybe not as Kabbalistically understood, of Venus over Mars. For some reason, Mars is listed in a higher position, but it is an ancient system, more connected with the accumulated wisdom of the previous solar system. So, you know, Mars is listed quite high here, whereas Venus and Mercury in our system are more sacred planets. But we're definitely going to move from Gebura, strength, to Chesed, mercy, Jupiter, where there is the compensation that comes from having given up all the lower desires. One is recompensed 1,000-fold by the higher energies. The higher trinity, Bina, Chokhmah, and Kether, it just depends on how these are laid out. Bina is usually Saturn, and it's kind of interesting to see Saturn connect with understanding, because usually we do that with Jupiter, but of course Saturn is the teacher and leads to understanding. Chokhmah, is it Uranus? Is it Neptune? Sometimes Kether, the crown, is connected with Neptune, but I would tend to connect it rather with Uranus. And because of the second ray connection to the monad of Neptune, it certainly has a connection with transcendental wisdom. But let's just say that Scorpio, which can be so merciless, so terrible, so destructive and dismembering, when seeing these tendencies, when seeing what the Hydra really is, will also know the ways of mercy and how to cultivate harmlessness, because it once was so full of harm. So Chesed is important here, and naturally the higher trinity is growing, but we certainly are not crowned yet. We might consider the crown coming to a degree in the 9th petal, but not really. You know, if we become the master of the wisdom with in the Leonian 5th initiation, with Uranus as the hierarchical ruler, we can certainly understand that the master is crowned, and Uranus represents that crown, just as it represents the crown center, the highest head center, with Neptune coming in there as the heart in the head center, accompanied by Vulcan, which also is related to the heart of the sun and has a strong head center influence, and thus can be related to the heart in the head. So there are many correspondences here, but we certainly are moving, if you think about it, from the solar plexus to the heart. Now the heart, of course, in the Kabbalistic system is really Tifereth, beauty, the sun, the central, sort of the central one of the Sephiroth. But from our understanding, Mars rules the solar plexus and Jupiter rules the heart, and there is a movement from this militant attitude into the more merciful heart center attitude. It's hard to expand the six-ray type so that they really realize that that is what is necessary. And, you know, is the moon really the foundation, or is it Vulcan? To tell you the truth, Vulcan is that material planet, certainly associated with the mineral kingdom, and very much associated with the etheric kingdom and the Agni Chaitans thereon. So maybe ultimately we would substitute Vulcan for the moon, but this is an old system, and Vulcan is not considered. Well, the celestial orders of angels and the 12 tribes of Israel were probably pretty much repeating the astrological format. So that is something that we can get into. There are just so many ways we could go off. By off, I don't mean into inaccuracy, but off on a fascinating tangent, a fascinating correlational study. So we see the relations of many systems to each other. I guess what's really important is to be able to look at the world and through spiritual reading to see all things as symbols and connected with archetypal purpose. There is a grand design, and all outer expressions, externalizations of the one infinite being, are symbolically related to that inner grand design. And if we can see that relationship at all times, if everything speaks to us of the inner pattern from which it came, then we are truly in a position to see pure reason, or see with pure reason. And we can use that technique we call inclusive reason. We use the technique called inclusive reason, and it leads to the Buddhic faculty of pure reason. Well, now we have come to this sort of miscellaneous section in which the members of different classes, and I with them, shared comments in relation to this petal. Some of these will have already been spoken about, others may be new, others may be fascinating, others will be maybe useless and off the mark, and I'll try not to give too much time to those. Basically, in a way, I'm recapitulating many years of study with the different classes on this subject. And the way classes go, there is not necessarily a great deal of continuity, because there are so many questions and comments and tangents, if I may say so. So here, what I'm doing is giving much greater continuity to the subject. Now, I know you don't have the privilege of stopping me and asking me a question that comes to your mind and getting my feedback on that, but perhaps if you hold the question in mind, some sort of satisfactory response will be offered as we go along. So now we're going to get into these special comments in relation to petal number 8, the synthesis for petal number 8. It's a petal I think is so important to the current student of esotericism, because, if you study DK students, and I don't see why they shouldn't be considered pretty much the way we are. You just realize they were working in Petal 8. It's the great petal of discipleship. And now, if every true aspirant is an initiate of the first degree, then every true disciple certainly is, and maybe every true disciple is more the initiate of even of the second degree. Well, I can't really say that. I mean, one can become an accepted disciple before the second degree, but certainly every true disciple is at least on the path of probationary initiation. And that's where so many of us find ourselves, and this work to be done in petal number 8 is for so many of us our work, and the reward that comes of succeeding in this most difficult initiation, the second most difficult for most, is an extensive reward borne along by the energy of the ashram. We find ourselves moving rapidly towards fuller unfoldment, and having detached ourselves from lower desire, we're beginning to understand what is the nature of divine will. So let us look at this collection of thoughts, kind of go along and see if we have a little bit of a synthesis within a synthesis. Okay, the emotional body here, petal 8, becomes like a reflection of the Buddhic vibration, and lower mental states start to become a reflection of the higher mental. And also, of course, the Buddhi is called the transcendental mind, and it's related to Mercury, and that begins to emerge here after the second initiation. So, what am I saying here? The soul shows an initiation chamber, in the initiation chamber for initiation 1, 2, and 3. Initiation 4, you are suspended in time and space. So is the world. I think it really should be the world involved in this initiation. I would have to say yes. It does affect very much our work in the world, because we have to prove, to demonstrate what we have contacted in passing our tests. So the soul has been seeing that the personality is ready for this. Actually, the solar angel and the consultation of the master and the initiator determine when there's readiness for initiation. We have to do so much by ourselves, and remember that phrase that we have been looking at, strenuous and abnormal efforts. At the 11th hour, an augmentation is given to us when we have proven that we are initiate, or have reached a certain stage which needs to be confirmed and augmented by the initiator. Some people are saying here that the crises we confront have to do with our job, maybe with our work in the world, and whether we have the strength to do the work that the soul recommends. It may require detachment and leaving something we do quite well for something that must be done. We're left on our own quite a bit here, but consultation with the solar angel is certainly expected. We use our own resources here. It's a kind of a mini dark night of the soul. We may feel at times abandoned at this point, but the solar angel is ever watchful, and if we are attentive to the energies coming forth from it, all will be well. We need to go forth and find those we are related to. Remember, the whole idea of fellowship is coming in here, and the fellow craft initiation, the second initiation, which has so many of the affiliated planets, Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter. Pardon me, I'm so sorry. The Master is not always looking in and on upon us, as some seem to think, not at all. It's a very thoroughgoing crisis, however, and we have to be, it's kind of an anticipation of the fourth initiation. We have to demonstrate what we can do on our own, and at the fourth degree we really feel quite bereft of assistance. The fearful conflict is coming at the third initiation, and already some anticipation of that as we leave our desires behind can be felt here at the second and in the eighth petal. The 10th head of the Hydra, one of our members brought up, is still hissing under the rock, the core of the personality. So humanity has a great dweller, and as we become masters we can participate in the solving of this, but we're not really there yet. The mystery of the Makara is in some ways the mystery of what the personality is, and it's related to our planetary logos, who is still suffering from certain maladjustments of personality. Where is the personality when the something that is initiated goes into the chamber of initiation at the first, second, and third degree, and the personality is in a latent and waiting state, and when the inner man returns from the chamber of initiation, which essentially is the causal body, interestingly, he or she brings with him as he returns, her, well, you know, they, the energies which have been conferred and make a big difference in the degree of personality stimulation which exists. Now here we just have a number of all of this. We don't need it. It goes. Some things are a little humorous here and don't make too much sense, but you know how classes are. So yes, indeed, the second initiation is here. The light of Buddhi is passing through the soul, through this eighth petal, through whatever we have of the synthesis, second synthesis petal that has unfolded, through this eighth petal and through the entire series of love petals. So the light of Buddhi is coming to the second degree initiate, and we've talked about the importance of the sign Scorpio in relation to Buddhi. It actually is a Buddhic sign. Its major ray is the fourth, and it rules the fourth creative hierarchy, which is the human creative hierarchy, focused on the Buddhic plane. Decentralization is strongly coming about here. We can say there is discipline, you know, in terms of these Ds, we can say there is discipline for the physical body, dispassion for the astral, discrimination for the mental vehicle, and decentralization for the personality, and overall a detachment from the personality. So the desires of the personality are on their way to reduction, and eventually their ancient authority, and the ancient authority of the personality is really overcome at the third degree. It still exists, and there's still 25% of the matter of the personality vehicles, which is not yet atomic matter, but the major battle has been won. And there is plenty of the group energy coming in here, as I've talked about Buddhi and the fellow craft, and those particular planets which operate under the law of cohesion and draw people together to be responsive to soul. So the inner group with which we are moving forward, stimulated by the ashram, is more revealed. When we enter the stream, we find we're not just being borne along ourselves, we're being borne along with our brothers and sisters related to the same ashram. And maybe the outer groups are more revealed as well, where the inner workers with whom we are associated can be found in those outer groups. So we can see with greater spiritual discernment, and we have that response to group vibration. Those are two of the siddhis that are found upon the higher mental plane. We're awakening to inner studies, inner group studies with others on the mental plane at night, maybe, since the factor of memory is so stimulated at this point, not only the memory of our past, but maybe the brain will be stimulated in such a way, Saturn ruling the brain, that it is possible to bring through the inner astral experiences with greater precision. Those experiences which occur at night with a high mental component. So many people are remembering their experiences in classes as this initiation approaches and as the eighth petal is unfolded. We're awakening to the group in which we are helping, or which we are helping. And interesting, Scorpio is like death. It takes you away from your body. It takes you onto the astral plane. I think the tendency in Scorpio can even be to become an astral magician, which is not necessarily a great thing. I mean, DK eliminated one of his students from the group for astral magic. He was a strong seventh ray type, first ray, seventh ray type. I don't know whether he had the sign Scorpio. We don't have his particular horoscope, but the separation of the consciousness from the body is, in a way, death, and it takes you to the astral plane. So we have an increasing number of these inner experiences. Because Mercury is so strong here in relation to Scorpio in the eighth petal, we are beginning not only to work with glamour, but to overcome illusion by accessing the intuition. We know that clear beam of sort of fifth ray light is needed to overcome the glamour from the Ajna center and Venus, and it is Mercury and the intuition which dispels illusion. Sometimes intuition does not work so well with illusion, DK tells us, and intuition and soul energy may even strengthen the glamour. But with illusion, intuition works. More so at petal 9, the overcoming of the last phases of glamour and also illusion. Well, from a cosmic perspective, I suppose, as long as we're involved with the cosmic physical plane, we're involved with illusion. We're entering the stream. We're touching to a degree the triple flowers, which is that hierarchy involved in sustaining the spiritual triad, which we can now access as members of the new group of world servers once we have passed the second degree and maybe moved a bit beyond it. You kind of wonder whether the new group of world servers has to have passed the temptations in the desert, because we're told for the new group of world servers to be on the lookout for those who have taken the first degree and the second degree. So maybe even taking the second degree is not quite enough. This is just a speculation. After the baptism, one does go off into the desert and really faces any remaining attraction to the world of flesh and the devil. The Ajna center under Venus and Mercury is further developed here, and one is able to direct oneself forward with greater power. That is one of the powers of the Ajna center. The law of magnetic impulse, second law of the soul, is awakening the heart center, and because of this, we're able to help awaken the heart center of others. We begin to form in these groups of 9, which can be absorbed into the consciousness of the planetary logos. We want to sacrifice and serve and aid others to enter the stream. So we are really expressing the soul at this point. The idea of know, express, reveal, and so forth. As DK describes the word express, it has to do with the monad in chapter 14 of the Rays Initiations, where we're not really there yet, where we can express the monad, but we certainly can begin expressing the plan as we as the soul understand it. We've got a lot of magnetic appeal to others, and this magnetism touches other hearts and gathers them in. After all, we are becoming lotuses with perfume. We're getting glimpses of the plan. We express the plan. We are part of that energy, which is the outworking of the plan. Lots of tests come as a result of Scorpio, and we manifest the result of our tests on the physical plane. We demonstrate that we can be successful on the physical plane, even though there's not a lot of third ray connected with Scorpio. And yet, when you think about it, there is with Pluto. and let Maya flourish and deception rule. It's a very third ray, lower third ray kind of statement. Ajna center, being strong here, helps us direct our efforts towards the plan. Our study and meditation are increasing. We're becoming occultists, actually. Well, certainly students of occultism, but we're on our way with the occult path, especially those who are somewhat familiar with this teaching. As I say, with others, they may think in different terms and be equally as advanced. You know, I wonder, did I discuss what we are there? You know, I wonder if I left that out. You know, we're certain, maybe not. We're not the little chela. We're not. While working in the petal, we can be the chela in the light. We certainly can be an accepted disciple. I did think I discussed it, and we begin to move on to the thread. I think this is possible as we move towards the third degree, and significant steps can be taken toward the third degree while working in petal number 8, in the latter part of petal number 8. 5 hours a day of occult meditation, imagine. In the new schools, we can be directed towards the first, second, or third degree. 5 hours of occult meditation. We might think of it a luxury at this point, but for the people who are moving towards the third degree, I suppose in the advanced school, it must be the case, and even in the preparatory school moving towards the second degree. 5 hours. Just contemplate that, given the usual busy outer life that we lead. When the Dalai Lama was asked about his own desire, it was just for, you know, more meditation. He wishes he could. So the Master will supervise all this in the new schools. We will definitely have here spiritual intelligence and mental illumination. You know, the first degree is called spiritual instinct. Second degree, spiritual intelligence and mental illumination. Third degree, intuitive instinct. The throat center is said to be very stimulated at the second degree, with mental illumination, of course. And both throat center and ajna are strong here. Obviously, there's a continuation of the lifting of the solar plexus center to the heart, and so if we don't have the heart, how can you sacrifice in the way that is required in the 8th petal? But the throat center is very strong here for the kind of illumination and intelligence combined with the ajna center that has to be achieved in this second degree and 8th petal. So, you know, as said, the spirit of immense sacrifices here. He says he seeks no reward for the immense sacrifices involved. One of our members thought, well, the heart must be open, and that is certainly true, and Buddha is helping us open the heart. What is the BP? I wonder. Buddhic plane. Well, there we go. We have a confirmation that at the second degree one does touch the Buddhic plane, and the antikarana that's being built can reach as far as the Buddhic plane. Certainly the second ray factors involved in the egoic lotus are activated and can be received, but Buddhi as well, that is the great stimulator of all these second ray factors within the egoic lotus. So the Buddhic plane, the antikarana, is not only touching the monastic permanent atom, but is somehow drawing something down from the Buddhic plane. Now, it doesn't mean that the Buddhic vehicle is fully organized, fully coordinated. There are some references that mostly suggest that it is coordinated after the third degree. But some that seem to suggest, or at least one, that after the second degree, some degree of coordination sets in. Some have thought, well, what a relief to end the pain of the 8th petal. Well, that's the human condition, isn't it? This fourth kingdom with its fourth ray, ruled by Scorpio and Mercury, the guardian, at the 8th gate. So much 4 and so much 8 in relation to the progress of the human kingdom. He told us about all that suffering that does occur between the second and third degree. And if there's going to be a fearful conflict before the third degree, it's not going to be easy, is it? So, but there's a lot of pain behind, and we do approach the third degree on what DK calls the level tableland, and we have the clear mind. We're moving fast, we've entered the stream, we are sufficiently detached, the community of fellow souls is traveling with us, and we feel their support and the support of the more prominent members of the ashram. We're approaching soul fusion. The second ray type, well, they may do that through study, but let's just say these more advanced methods, isolated unity, inclusive reason, presented attributes, these are methods by which we encourage soul fusion, and probably we have seen some of those in the fusion formulas which I discussed in one of my series. I think I did that. We understand those particular qualities. I'll have to check whether I've done that, because there's some amazing alignments which involve the monad, the triad, different areas within the egoic lotus, and all the way down into the chakras. Sometimes I've done so many of these that I forget which one I've done. Anyway, our relationship to others changes. It's very purposeful, radical, eliminative, and we really find those who belong to us in terms of soul vibration. We can see deeply enough to understand the soul vibration and our deep affiliation with certain people according to the law of magnetic impulse. It's a Libran law, but it really does, of course, continue here. And, there's some of the law of group progress which is operative here. Maybe it comes in even more under Capricorn in the next petal, but there is plenty of Capricorn related to this petal as well. So we're traveling together. There's some stability on the path here. We're not just a fluctuating point of light, now waxing in approach, now waning in retreat. We are a steadily approaching point of light, and we have the constant and steady application of all the powers of the soul. That's what DK says, of the eighth petal process. So it's a power petal. Now, some people working in this petal, they can become the predator elite, and they're using soul power for personal means, but the suffering involved in doing that will probably dissuade them of its utility. We are becoming more and more within ourselves the point of peace, and we can detach from the storm around us. Our right human relations are refined here. We know so much about what causes pain. Maybe we can know also what causes the glory of the soul and the increased soul impression. We're finally sorting out the astral body in a way that it will no longer be an impediment. It is the major opponent for all types except the third and the fifth ray souls, and even for them, well, it can't be easy. It may be easier, but it can't be easy. It is in our solar system the major opponent. The soul-mind-brain alignment is becoming very strong because the astral body is clarified and stilled. If you look at the combination of the planets Venus, Jupiter, and Neptune, the stillness, the quiet of the second ray can enter. The ashram and the plan are drawing closer. I mean, a lot of the DK's students in his group of 24, they were not yet second-degree initiates, but they were accepted disciples, and they had been drawn to the periphery of the ashram, and they were expected to express together in specific ways the divine plan. So we are becoming what is called here an advanced disciple. And the strictly personal is more and more out of the way. The plan enters in, and that, of course, is the stage of revelation in the Achlary process. We are subject to the higher light. The plan is revealed. Repulse has shown us what we can throw away under the law of love. Integration is approaching. Fusion is in process. And we have that kind of thing that comes in Scorpio, a great conviction that we know what we are doing, and even if not fully illumined, we are at least moving in the right direction. Well, here's another class that talks about the fights and battles in this degree, and you can think, and petal, you can think about petal number 5, where many lives of struggle are involved. It's a Scorpio, it's a Taurus, a Leo and Scorpio petal. Well, petal number 8 is a Scorpio and Leo petal. So some final fights are operative here. We know that Scorpio will always cause a conflict, especially before initiation. The third eye is progressively awakened, and some of this may start in the penetrating insight which Scorpio gives. It's not fully awakened. More at the third degree, it's really functionally awakened. But the trumpet of joy is sounding forth on the battlefield, and the crisis of the battlefield is coming to an end. In this petal, our very strong Leonian will gets really whacked, and we use something higher than our lower self here. There's the lower Leo and higher Leo, and the Scorpio is putting the lower Leo to death, so we use our higher self here, and we do actually win. We're getting ready to tip the scales for once and for all, and after the succeeding in facing the temptations of in the desert, the scale really tips, and then we are no longer a hazard. We're no longer considered a hazard or a liability once we achieve real mental polarization and pass the temptations in the desert. And of course, real mental polarization means that our mind is a mind held steady in the light of the soul. We are definitely in the cave, but we're sacrificially thinking no thought for our lower self. Our eyes are off our lower self except to make of it a better instrument. So selflessness is on its way to be achieved. You know, the monster of selfishness is the early Scorpio type. Just take a look at page 333 in Esoteric Astrology. Well, now in this concentration upon sacrifice with no thought of return, that selfish monster is really being defeated. The complete selflessness, of course, I think is coming in at the fourth initiation, but compared to a being like the Christ, what fourth degree initiate would dare call himself truly selfless? But anyway, the selfishness which is arising from the distinctly lower nature is overcome. The emotional selfishness, I think, is quite overcome here, but mental pride there still may be, and even at the third degree, there may be mental pride. And, well, mental selfishness working in that ninth petal. Pride, separativeness, and cruelty. These are mental faults. So we're not entirely free of that, of course, depending on our ray. But the heart of group life is beginning to beat, and the cohesion between the group brothers is strengthening. We can become increasingly an invocative point for purposes of the group, which we're now beginning to lead because we have the ability to be magnetic, and we're not only radiant, but we are emitting a certain type of subtle perfume which gathers others towards us. We're learning about group life. Scorpio uses group resources for the betterment of all. That's just normal astrology. And we can begin to do that. All the signs of the fixed cross are brought in here. You know, the blinding light, it's increasing of Taurus, the fiery pain of Leo. And that has to do with experiences within the etheric body as well. The bitter woe of Scorpio. And the impending liberation of Aquarius. We're not there yet, but we can anticipate it. We're learning how to give sacrificially through the heart, through the group heart. And we are connected with the heart of the sun. Seems like I have this need to say, wow, at the beginning of every new group. It must have been some joke long forgotten. So the possibility of understanding a little bit of group initiation is coming in here, because once the Antagarana is being built, we can be reading the rays and initiations, and even though not third-degree initiates or part of a third-degree initiate group, we can get the sense of what group initiation is. We can study the ashram and approach. So the personality is beginning to feel the effect of initiation. But, of course, the initiation is really occurring in the causal body, above, so to speak, the personality, and then the energy does come down and it stimulates, for better or for worse, the rest of the personality. That's why the masters have to be so careful in allowing that occult accolade, because it's so possible to overstimulate the personality and then retard one's progress rather than encourage it. Anyway, group initiation in the Aquarian age is being understood. So the people are advancing together. They have some sort of project which is born of their increasingly realized soul fellowship. The standard is rising here. Everyone will have had to have taken degree number 1 in such groups. There was one exception in the Tibetans group, but generally speaking, it is so. They can help many when they are together, or, well, when you come together, sometimes you get involved with personality involvements. That's one of those temptations that has to be passed through. Every month in New York, DK had this ashram group of, interestingly enough, 14 people, and it was the beginning of the externalization of his ashram in New York. Now, these people were not yet, by and large, second-degree initiates, not quite. Maybe a few were, and Alice Bailey certainly of the 3rd degree, and as a conscious member of the ashram, she lectured them on the ashramic life. There's a lot of cleansing going on here, and so Aquarius is involved in the sense of cleansing the Augean stables. And that has to happen if there's going to be real group power, the ability to stand as the master's group and taking eventual group initiation. We're told in the New Age many will take the 1st degree and some will take the 2nd, and the Christ will be the initiator. So our group life is actually growing here. Our fellowship is growing, and it's facilitating, promoting initiation. There's a lot about group initiation when we think about the 2nd degree. The cohesive factors are really working. We're all coming together under the law of magnetic impulse, and we're meeting each other as souls, together as souls. So liking or disliking each other has nothing to do with it. We cast away the glamour of sentiment. That glamour of sentiment is talked about in the introduction to Rule 11 in the rays and the initiations for the advanced rules. So the glamour of liking and disliking, no, we're deeper into it than that. Well, anyway, something was brought interestingly here about the founding of Findhorn and how 2 people founded it, but a 3rd had to be brought in so there could be a balance between will, light, and love. Anyway, the astonishing thing is that the growing impersonality results in love. Impersonality comes first, and then love follows. And the divine indifference method is very strong here when repulse enters, and we learn how not to care about the things we cared about so very much. The personal part of ourselves is so deeply related to the astral body, and this is what we are subduing at this time. So when we are dying to the wishes of the astral body, we can become impersonal, and love begins to flow. So remember, this is a love petal. It's the love petal of the sacrifice tier. So without love, we're not going to fulfill initiatory requirements. And the 2nd degree, although it uses the 6th ray very much, is about love. Okay, I talked about this earlier, about the terrible smells and stenches versus the attractive soul perfumes, and we're beginning the process of smelling our way home towards the spirit. One of our members said that as a child they could smell whether one lied or not. Synthesia, smelling a lie. How interesting. Truth emerges with the end of certainly the major glamours. We're going through all that is old and ancient with the increase of memory. We are really cutting from the past. The old stuff that used to belong is now cast away. So this is kind of, you know, a synthesis of this, a synthesis within a synthesis, you know, petal number 8. Such an important petal, and I hope that this section is studied strongly because it has so much relevance to what we're doing. So this is really now the end of Egoic Lotus webinar commentary program 56, part 4 of the synthesis for petal 8, and we're going to begin beginning of Egoic Lotus webinar commentary program 57, which will be part 1 of the synthesis for petal 9. This program has lasted approximately 1 hour and a half. That's exactly, almost exactly, what it has lasted. So it's 1 hour and, let's say, 2 minutes, because I'll close off and say that I know, you know, this method of studying is probably will leave some Ray 5 types having fits, but I'm trying to gather together the related ideas until we are really steeped in them, and we just have this intuitive understanding of the kinds of experiences we will pass through when organizing, coordinating, and vitalizing petal number 8, and then also when contributing directly to the unfoldment of petal number 8 through strenuous and abnormal efforts, and when the rod of initiation is applied by the bodhisattva and even more is unfolded. These are the things we will encounter, and these are the kinds of tasks we can apply ourselves to, and we can facilitate their achievement by understanding them more fully and understanding how they are related to the different energies which we can certainly begin to wield as we begin to reach this point in our development. You know, with Mercury as a manipulator in a way, and it helps us, being so strong in this petal, it helps us wield these energies to a particular end. So we've had 4 parts here, and quite a bit of study in petal number 8, and now we will go on to petal number 9.